This video is made possible by Google. You've got to sharpen your chisels by Simon Cousins.
So a few years ago, I got really into stone carving. I wasn't very good. I'm still not very good. But I was trying to learn how to carve letters into stone. Now, there is a well-known stone carver in Wales, and this is one of his pieces. And it just so happened that Ian lives in the same village as my mother. So I wondered if he could teach me. I went and I hung around outside his workshop and waited until he arrived, and we got talking. And as we did, he asked to see one of my pieces, something that I'd carved. So I just had my little phone screen and I showed him something. And he looked at it and he said something really amazing. He said, either it was raining that day or you forgot to sharpen your chisels before you started. And he was right. I hadn't sharpened my chisels that day. And so I said, do you have to sharpen your chisels every time you start carving? And he said, yes, every time you start, because if you don't, you will be wasting time with blunt chisels. And that really struck with me. Because when I'm carving, I want to get going. I want to be doing it. So I feel like if I'm doing something else that's not carving, I'm wasting my time. But here is a master carver who says to me that the time you invest in your tools saves you time. And I thought, that's probably not just true for stone carving. That's probably true generally as well. So here are some of my chisels, some of the tools that I use to do my job every day to make fonts. But how long do I spend investing in my chisels? Understanding them better, customizing them, sharpening them, making better chisels, so that the workshop that I use is as efficient as it can be. And so that when I sit down to work, my tools are working for me and helping me instead of getting in my way. So today, we're going to spend some time looking at the tools that I use and seeing how we can improve our efficiency. We're going to start with some small efficiency improvements, and then we'll work on to bigger and bigger improvements. So the first principle in this is that I'd like you to spend time getting to know your tools and their capabilities. We're going to start simple. We're going to start in glyphs. Let's open this one. There we go. Now, other font editors are available, of course, and maybe you want to mix and match. We'll come back to this idea later, of choosing the best tool for the job, and not just depending on one tool. I'm an engineer. I don't do very much drawing of curves. Now, if I did, I might prefer to use FontLab for some of the drawing, because I think, for me, the tools that are in FontLab help me to make better curves. But I would come back to glyphs to do the mastering, the engineering, and everything else. Choosing the best tool for the job. Now, one of the first things that I do anytime I start a piece of software, start using it, is I'll go through the settings window here and just see what I can do to make this more my own. Nothing here. What's this? Oh, display Unicode value. That sounds like it might be useful. If I turn that on, I can see which glyphs have got Unicodes and which Unicodes they are. That seems useful. And we go through, maybe not so many of the others. What's this one? Shortcuts. That sounds like it might make us more efficient. One of the things I'll be talking about is that shortcuts are useful. Anything that helps you to keep your hands on the keyboard and away from the mouse make you a more efficient engineer, more efficient user. So we think about the things that we use all the time. For me, I work a lot on variable fonts. And one of the things that I use all the time is this one, show master compatibility. I'm just going to turn this one off for now. Oh. That's a key tool, so we make sure that that one has got a shortcut. Another key tool that I use a lot is the shape order plugin. I'm going to show you it if I go to the menu, filter, shape order. Yeah, it takes a little bit of time, but it's got a shortcut. With one hand, I can just do this, and it's right there. Little tiny speed increase, but if you're using it hundreds of times a day, these little tiny increases mount up. So we make sure that master compatibility is always on. We make sure that the things that we use all the time have got a hotkey. Now, the master compatibility thing will show us when there are potential problems in our glyphs. You can see that there's something wrong here. It'll show you in yellow that there's something wrong. And we're going to look later at how to find all of these. But let's try and fix that. And this brings us on to plugins. Very often, I will go through the plugin manager and just see if there's anything that's been added recently that looks like it might be useful. Keep updating your tools. Keep customizing your tools. What do we got at the moment? Find escape list, find zero handles. That looks quite useful. There'll be various things that you can add, customize, and improve your experience. To see what's going on in this issue, we'll use another plugin. Oop. Oop. Let's show node indexes. And you can see that this node here has got index 5. This node here has got index 11. If we look at it in the other master, this node here has got index 5. This node here has got index 8. So they're not matching up. And when you interpolate, there's going to be a nasty kink in the middle. And that's what that yellow is telling you. So we can fix that. Add a node here. Now we've got a problem. Take out a node here, and it's happy. As well as the show node indices, there's a bunch of plugins that I use most frequently. You can see that as I'm mousing around, it's showing me the thickness of the stems. There's a plugin for that called Show Node Stem Thickness. If I select a couple of nodes, another plugin will tell me the distance, the angle. And then there's a plugin that I use called Super Tool, which shows you the curvature. It allows you to adjust and harmonize the nodes. All of these things can be added into your workflow to make your job easier. As well as these, there are plenty of scripts that you can use, whether you write them yourself or whether you download them. I use Rainer's collection of scripts very, very often. I rely on that a lot. So for example, this anchor here doesn't look like it's in a good position. Let's see if there's a fix. Rainer has something which can add many anchors. You just tell it roughly where you want it to go, and it'll add it to all the masters of all the glyphs that you've got selected. Well, that looks a bit better. I feel like it should be further down a bit. Another one here. Anchor mover will allow us to drop it down a couple of hundred, and then that works not just on this master, but on the other master as well. Again, these repetitive jobs are the reason we use a computer. They're things that we shouldn't be doing by hand. Anything that you're going to do more than once, more than twice, find a way to automate them. Finally, in terms of understanding our tools, let's go back to the font window. And you can see down the bottom I use a long, long list of auto filters. These are ways to segment your font and look at different things, so I can see immediately if there are any masters that aren't compatible. I can find the things that have got components and paths. And anytime I find that I am looking for a particular pattern in glyphs, I'll just make an auto filter and add it to my collection. I'm building my tools and improving my workspace all the time. So there you go, that's principle one, getting to know your tools and using them to their full capabilities. Let's move back to... The second principle I'd like you to take away today is to tighten the loop. What do I mean by that? Well, we often think of font design as a kind of linear process. You know, we have the design, you edit it, you refine it, you build the font, you master it, you test it, and hooray, you're done. In reality, I think we know it's never quite that simple. In reality, it's highly cyclical. We're testing, we're fixing, we're building again, and then we go round this loop. So when we are building our fonts, we want to make sure that we are going around this loop as quickly and efficiently as possible, and our tools to help. And I believe very strongly that the way to get around this loop as quickly as possible is to use the command line well. So before I show you some of the building and the testing and the QA tools that I use, let's make sure we know how to use this command line as efficiently as possible. We're going to open Noto Sans Arabic. Now let's show you the slow way to open it. We're in Glyphs. We go to File. We go to Open. Now we can find it. I press tilde. Did you know that you can press tilde to type the path that you want to use instead of having to go through all the menus? That makes it a little bit quicker. There we go, Noto Sans Arabic. But that was slow. That took a while. There was a lot of mousing there. So, let's do it the quick way. We'll go to Noto Arabic, and then we're going to use the open command. That's a bit better. So what did I just do there? We use CD to change directory. And we use open. This is just like double-clicking. Just like double-clicking on a file. How do we tell it what file to click on? Whoop. We can use the tab key like this to fill in any completions. We can start typing something, press tab, and it'll open it up for us. Like that. A bit quicker. Thank you. I might use you again in a moment. Okay, so that's opening it up. Let's take a look at an issue. Here we go. We got a bit of an issue here. When we have a dot underneath this letter, it collides with the tail here. So what we want to do is we want to adjust this. Let's move this out the way and see if that worked. I'm going to use FontMake to build my font. Now, is that better than Glyphs compile? I don't know, but it's what we use when I'm delivering Noto fonts. But the reason why it's useful for me is it allows me to do two things at the same time. Okay, I've got a window here where I'm editing. I've got another window here where I'm building. So let's build the font. Again, in FontMake, I've got things that I can press tab and complete, and it'll just help me to fill in only the things that are relevant. Again, just another microsecond or two saved here. If I press -G and then tab, it will show me only the Glyphs files and the Glyphs package files. So that's building away now. Come on, build. That's it. That's not bad. It's a bit slow, maybe 5 seconds. We're working on a new compiler called Fontsy. Haven't got a tab completion one for this yet, but that's a bit quicker. Maybe we'll use that one in the future. If I want to edit it again, if I'm in the command line, there's a very useful thing I can do. I can press up, and that takes me through the commands that I've done recently. So again, you can see very quickly, instead of having to type all that out again, I can just jump to the thing that I want. Let's jump back to Glyphs, and let's see if we fix this problem. Now we built it, we've done the change. And let's see if it works. We'll use font goggles. This is a nice QA tool for previewing. I'm going to use open-A, that's opening an application. So instead of having to go to my applications and scroll down and find font goggles, here we go. We can just open it up this way. Again, microseconds. Now, font goggles takes quite a while to start up, which is a bit of a shame. But here we go. Let's see if we fix that issue. Looking a bit better. Let's try it in the bold. Nope, still there. So we tab back to glyphs, adjust, tab again, font make, off we go. It'll reload itself. To be honest with you, I don't use font goggles when I'm testing myself. I use a little script that I wrote called Shape. Show you on the terminal a piece of text in the font that you're using. So again, a little bit quicker, a little bit more efficient each time. Let's go back to some of the other tools that I use to help to close the loop. And I think there's a principle here of using the best tools for the job. We've already talked about how you don't want to be wedded to one tool. Whatever is the most efficient for what you're doing is what you should use. So something I use all the time is a website called Crowbar, and this is an open-type debugger. You know, my speciality is programming scripts with complex text layout requirements, and so I wrote this to show me what is happening at each stage of shaping. And it'll show you what's going on with the lookups, it'll show you where they are in your feature code, and that'll help you to understand what's going on when things don't work out the way that you expect. I have another tool which wraps the interpolation checking, because like in glyphs, when you have that master compatibility thing, it shows you the problem if you have the glyph open that's got the problem. But how do you know which glyphs have got the problem? So this one, it's a website, you drop your font on it, and it will show you, when you're halfway through the interpolation, there's a problem in this font. You can also use that as part of font tools as well. We're building a lot of these web-based checking tools because we find they're very quick to use. I think another principle in terms of closing the loop is being ready to release at any stage. You know, if you're continually mastering, if you're continually doing your QA, you're not saving problems up until the last minute. Always be testing, always be QAing. And one of the tools we use to help with that is Font Bakery. This checks for 100 different potential problems with fonts. And again, we've got a web-based version. You just drop your font on it, and it'll tell you some of the things that are wrong. Font Bakery, I have to admit, is a little bit slow. We're working on a much faster version, again in Rust. It's going to be much faster. It'll be out by the end of this year. So that's a QA tool that I use fairly regularly. Another one that I use is called Shaperglot. This is what we use to check language coverage. Now, there are lots of different tools that will check whether your font has got the right code points for a particular language, but this one is a little bit different. So in this font that I've dropped on, I'm trying to see if it supports Dinka, language from South Sudan, and it does have all the Unicode code points for Dinka. It's got the open E, it's got the diaresis, but it's missing the anchors on the open E to connect the diaresis to the open E. So other code point tools will say, oh yeah, that supports Dinka just fine. Well, if your anchors are not there, it doesn't support it just fine. So that's something that we want to check. And again, something we use all the time when we're changing fonts is to make sure that we're not introducing new bugs as a result of the changes that we make. So we have a tool called Diffinator 3, again, another web-based tool. You drop 2 fonts onto it, and it will find the differences between those fonts. Not just the outlines, the curves, but also the behavior of the font. It will try to shape a load of different words, and it will tell you that in this case, well, we obviously broke an anchor somewhere, or we broke anchoring, and it's not quite working properly. So that, for us, is essential to make sure that we are continually improving our fonts, but not introducing regressions as we go. So if these are the tools that I use, people ask me, which text editor do you use? Well, the answer is I use all of them. So for example, Glyphs has got a built-in feature editor. And you can look in the font info. I should have used the hotkey, really. And bring up the features. Tech is failing me. Here we go. And sometimes, if it's a simple job, I'll do the fixes in here. If it's a difficult job, I'll copy them, and I'll load them into another editor. I'll go into Sublime Text. Now, the reason I use Sublime Text for this particular job is that, A, it's very quick to get started, but you can also do something called multiple cursors. So if I take that, I find all the things that have got dot medium in them, and I can change them all at once to dot small, copy that, put it back into Glyphs. Rather than, again, going through every single one by one, anything that I can do, I need to do more than once, I do it automatically. But for small edits, if I'm just doing something small, I'll use something else. I use a text editor called VI, because it's just so fast to get started, edit something, save it again. Know your tools, know your different tools, and choose the right tool for the job. No stone cutter would use one chisel for everything. Keep many different ones in your toolbox and pull out the one that you need. The final principle that I think is useful for becoming more efficient is to develop your own toolbox. When you're dealing with computers, it's important to have a programmer's mindset, and that mindset is that any job that looks like it's repetitive is a job we want the computer to do and not us to do. And often we start with these general purpose GUI tools which are written by other people. They're graphical and they're usually quite slow. We said we can be faster by keeping our hands on the keyboard, but you can be even more efficient if you make your own chisels. So I will, every time I have a question or something that I want to find out about a font, I will make a tool for it, write a little script, save it, and add it to my toolbox. So build up your own toolbox. So there you are. I hope that's helped you already to sharpen some of your chisels. Remember to make the best use of the tools that you have, to learn how to use them, to learn how to customize them, to make them your own. Tighten the loop so that you're able to quickly iterate on changes that you make, and do that knowing that you're ready to release at any time. Do that in the confidence that you're not introducing any regressions. Use the best tools for the job. Develop a library of answers. And I'm going to leave you with a list of some of the resources that I've mentioned today, and I'd be very happy to answer any questions you have afterwards. Thank you very much.